So welcome everyone back to London Climate Action Week here in London, the capital of the United Kingdom. We're just a pigeon flight away from the House of Commons. So those of you around the world who might be imagining where we are, you've probably got a good idea by now. In this session, we're going to explore what corporate climate leadership looks like as we look to companies on not only improving their operations, but also helping to transform the ecosystems in which they operate. And companies have made some great strides with value chain actions and their operations, etc. But now it's time to maybe make a different acceleration so that we can get on track back to 2050 and net zero emissions. Today is the focus of our conversation, and we'll be discussing the Exponential 5-pillar framework. There's maybe a clue on the table. An approach designed to help companies identify, act on, and be recognized for the full range of actions that can drive systemic change and accelerate the transition. And I've got three wonderful speakers to discuss this with us here. I have Johan Falk, the CEO and co-founder of the Exponential Roadmap Initiative, who will introduce the framework and explain why this broader view is necessary for success. We also have two great leaders who are already putting these principles into practice. We've got Aaron Augustine, Vice President of Global Sustainability at Oatly, and Fredrik Nielsen. Was that very close, Fredrik, or not? Thank you so much.
Superb.
Thank you so much. Head of Sustainability at Scania. And of course, Oatly, well known. Everyone knows the drinks, the products based on wheat and other cereals, unbelievably good. And Scania, I think a lot of people know Scania too. Oats.
We only do oats.
You only do oats? You don't do any others?
No.
I don't believe it. And okay, we're just being informed that it's only oats. And Scania, well, you do trucks, and that's well known to a lot of people out there. So let's go.
And buses.
Okay, and buses, but you don't do oats.
Battery systems.
No, you don't do oats. That's the main thing. Okay, but you don't do oats, Fredrik. This is what Erin does, so that's good. All right, Johan, let's start with you first. For those who are new to this, what is the Exponential Framework, and what gap does it seek to address?
Yeah, so starting with the why question, a lot of the work within companies and climate work has been focused on reporting and compliance, which is of course essential. But what companies really need, in our opinion, and what we work with our leading companies is basically a framework which support competitiveness, business growth, value chain transformation, but also how you contribute to the global transformation towards an Earth-aligned economy. And that requires a lens from a business perspective. And that is why we developed this framework. And it's not new. We started to implement this 5-6 years ago. So I would say it's well proven through our exponential business playbook. We have companies representing something like 1 trillion in revenues. And they span basically these 5 pillars. So that is the way to go as far as we see it.
And can you briefly walk us through these 5 pillars? I mean, not
Yes.
literally walk through them because they'll be crushed as you go along, but tell us about how they explain this move from ambition to action.
Yes, and I think a key point is what we really think is essential is for a company to take a holistic approach across the pillars. The first pillar is really about your operational emissions. And a lot of companies can go very fast in terms of cutting these emissions. It's your vehicle fleet, it's your factories, and it's also your energy. So that's scope 1 and 2. So there's an opportunity to radically cut these emissions. The second pillar is about the value chain and decarbonizing the value chain, both upstream, downstream. That's of course about renewable energy, material transformation, etc., and circular business models. The third pillar is really about the up curves, how we scale up what we call climate solutions and set positive targets. And why that is so essential is, of course, to be aligned with the future economy. You have to shift your complete portfolio in that direction. Number 4 is about investing in the transformation, both in your own operation, but also upstream and downstream to enable your value chain to transform. And finally, number 5, influencing of policy and the global narrative, because a lot of the transformation today require that companies engage in policy influencing.
Okay.
So that is a framework.
Good.
Thanks.
All right. Frederick, this is not very gender sensitive because we're leaving the lady till last, but we're leaving the best till last, aren't we? So, Frederick, I want to bring you in now. From Scania's perspective, why is it useful to think about climate leadership through a broader 5-pillar lens, not only the company's own footprint, but also suppliers and customers' infrastructure and policy?
Yeah, thanks for that one. And just to applaud, we love the 5 pillars. And from the Scania perspective, it makes a lot of sense because we have realized that it's not enough that we do our share and continue progressing on that. We need the whole society, the whole transport system to roll. And therefore, these 5 pillars are really, those are really essential. It's both public and private stakeholders that needs to act simultaneously, in many cases coordinated, which is not the case. But on the other hand, we also recognize that the largest contribution we have in fighting climate change will be in our role of transforming transportation through our product when our customers use. On the other hand, you could say that the first pillar, there is all about the fossil-free electricity, the biogas replacing fossil gas, getting production process electrified, but also company car fleets. So you can say that is easy. It's not so easy, but it's at least we have reached 54% reduction there since 2015 up to 25, which we're super happy with, but we're not there. In terms of the value chains then, coming back to the second pillar, it's really about putting requirements on suppliers. But what we knew already 8 years ago was that those decarbonized products were not there in the market. So obviously being upfront, creating partnerships on our 4 hotspot materials, the steel, the cast iron, the aluminum, and the batteries, is necessary. It constitutes 80% of the footprint of the embedded carbon in our product. So that we just really needed to get going on. But on top of that, obviously, we also buy a lot of logistics. So we have pushed the envelope and pay an extra for decarbonized transports in the market. But then the third pillar, that's our big thing, the huge focus on shifting from fossil fuels to battery electric vehicles. And I can talk forever on that one. But the last 2 pieces then, so to mobilize finance and investments, it's all about investing in the ecosystem for us, building out new companies around charging, building out new companies with new business models, where we sell transport as a service, but in the end of the day, also financing solutions for our customers when they're investing in their future solutions. And last but not least, we believe that if we should be able to do this in the way that is needed on societal level, we need to continue engaging on the global level, regionally, on national level, and in green corridors on very specific transport nodes. And we have done that for many years, but maybe a little bit different from Brazil last year, where there was a big focusing on the action agenda. And I think corporates across the world with solutions will have a way more important role right now in helping countries to deliver and implement their climate plans. So we're happy to be here today, but also engaged in Bonn on helping countries to decarbonize heavy-duty transport. So I think the 5 pieces, they kind of consolidate the majority of our strategy.
Good. And so it's a bit like a little quiz question here. If you were to pick one of the pillars, right? One of the pillars, Frederick, from where Scania is focusing particular effort, which one would it be? And what does that look like in practice, briefly?
Yeah, and it's a hard pick, I must say. But I need to go for pillar three. It's about scaling solutions. That's our must-win bet in a sense, to get the battery electric vehicles on the road across the world at scale. And from our side, we have spent R&D budget since 2016-17 on battery electric vehicles, charging solutions, and solutions that should do the work and the job in the market. And now we're electrifying 94 tons in the harshest conditions in the northern of Sweden. So technology is there. And making this happen is also existential for us and for our competitors as well, and also for our purpose to drive the shift towards a sustainable transport system. But I can also say that we conclude that the transformation in society is too slow. The fossil fuels out there are to some extent subsidized. So they will put our customers in a situation where they favor fossil-based transport solutions instead of electrified. So the price on the energy is not the only thing, but also for sure the construct and the regulations around how much weight that you can put on the truck when you load it with more batteries, for example, but also to have CO2 specific regulations for the road, where you can then make sure that if you're electrified, you can have a less costly transport on the road, for example. And only a few countries across the world right now has put these aspects into place in order for the whole system to advance, and not the least, the transport buyers out there buying transports also need to put demands on decarbonized transports. So we conclude it's too slow. We have done a big effort already, but we need to continue. But it's really the ecosystem that need to transform. And then we believe that these 5 pillars is a perfect kind of approach or strategy or structure to gear your work.
Okay, Frederick, thanks very much indeed. Let's turn to Erin. Oatly has worked to connect climate action with product impact, transparency and wider food system change. From your perspective as Oatly, how can a framework like this help companies understand and communicate their climate strategy more clearly?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I would love to ground us in the food system, right? So food system is absolutely a user of transportation and the transportation system. But the food system both contributes to and is deeply impacted by climate change. So we're responsible, the food system, for 33% of all greenhouse gas emissions, global man-made greenhouse gas emissions. If we narrow in on the animal-based section of that food sector, it's responsible for about half of those emissions, 80% of all global agricultural land. So it's using 80% of global ag land, and is a leading driver of deforestation and biodiversity loss. And all the while only providing about 17% of the global calorie supply. So I think there's widespread understanding that food system needs to be transformed. There's widespread understanding that we know the science, we know what a planetary health diet looks like, one that is healthy for both people and planet, and then we need to actually do the transforming. Right. So I think a framework like this, especially one that with pillars 3, 4, and 5 that go sort of beyond your standard scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions reductions, is really the kind of tools that we need to do system-wide transformation, food system-wide transformation, transportation system-wide transformation. Sort of, it pushes you and companies to move beyond just what they can control and moving into their spheres of influence, into ways that they inspire, influence, and drive others forward with their actions and their requests.
Could you tell us how Oatly is approaching its climate strategy through these 5 pillars? And maybe just as Frederick explained, where you think Oatly's contribution is particularly strong?
Yeah, absolutely. So love working with this framework. I think it's really great. Of course, we have commitments to reduce our own corporate climate footprint and are actively working forward on that. Our commitments just to have them out there are a 40% reduction in corporate climate footprint. We do that per liter of Oatly produced. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. So a 40% reduction by 2030, a 70% reduction by 2040, an 89% reduction by 2050, and then a commitment at that point to permanently offset the residuals. Where I think we actually really excel, I mean, I'm going to pick the same as Frederick, sorry. Also, we work a lot in the number 3 space, in the pillar 3 space. And that's because our products in late 2024, many of our products were identified as climate solutions products. And then in early 2025, Oatly as a company was identified as a climate solutions company. So we've really leaned into that part of the framework and really love working with that part of the framework because it gives us a language to talk with our customers and consumers and help them understand that when they're choosing Oatly instead of cow's milk, the avoided emissions are real, they're tangible, they're calculated with a life cycle assessment. They're very, scientifically rigorous studies that document and prove these avoided emissions. And it's really then working in that space about customer engagement, consumer engagement, lifestyle change in a really optimistic way. It's one of the things I really like about the framework is it's, I don't believe we're going to transform the food system with shame and blame and judgment. I believe that people want delicious food that's good for their bodies and also for it to be a climate solution and for it to be moving us forward towards a net zero world.
Good. So time is flying. Johan, what are you going to do next with this framework?
I think what is really strong and what we've shown the last couple of years is that this is a very powerful lens from a business viewpoint, and it's really good way to engage not only CSR but basically the complete organization. And I would say the companies we're working with who are really successful are applying these 5 pillars. So one thing we continuously been doing is, of course, influencing standards. We're part of all the standards, but we should be aware of that this framework is, must be 5 maybe years ahead of the standards. So it's really, from our perspective, important to push, the standards as well. But I see in particular, we have the opportunity to scale now these best examples from companies like Scania and Oatly and many others who apply this framework also to all other type of companies. And we can, of course, use digitalization and AI to be able to do that. So making it open and possible for anyone to apply this type of framework. We will also work on building in recognition. So we're really pushing that companies should be recognized for strategy, goals, plans, strategies across these 5 pillars, not only talking about delivery on scope 1, 2, 3. So that's absolutely essential because what companies do on pillar 3, 4, 5 might be absolutely instrumental to contribute to the transformation. It's not just delivering on scope 1, 2, 3. So that's the second thing. But we think now there is a great opportunity to work together with our companies to scale this out as an open framework for anyone to apply and use.
Right. So we are fast coming to the end. Obviously, you can learn a lot more about this from the exponentialroadmap.org website and see more what Oatly and Scania and others are doing. That's good. But maybe very, very, very quickly, this is one of those one-sentence responses. I'll take 2 sentences. It's okay. But what do you think, Erin, is needed for this framework to have real impact?
I think companies need to work with it. I think once you're in it, once you're working with it, once you're starting to think about your influence beyond your own immediate value chain and your own immediate supply chain, it becomes very obvious how this framework helps you drive business value out of your sustainable products, your sustainable solutions, your climate solutions, and really then driving value for customers, consumers, stakeholders.
And lastly, Frederick, the similar point?
I think, Aaron, you took mine, but it's fine because I agree. But then to innovate another one in my head right now, I think what we also need continuously is leadership. And I think the fifth part here really positions that, because you need to be out there. You need to advocate for the system to change, and you need to do your homework and do your best on your home turf. But you need to advocate for the system to change, and then obviously the framework as such will drive acceleration, scale, systemic change as such. So I really like that you have added that fifth element, because many times that element can be seen as something a little bit, it's something that you do behind locked doors and stuff like that. And obviously you have dialogues behind closed doors, but on the other hand, we also need that continuous leadership from the corporate sector, and challenge the political side of things to also pick up on the leadership.
Good. Well, thank you again, Frederick from Scania, Johan from Exponential Roadmap Initiative, and Erin from Oatly. And I'm sure this is to be continued. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you very much. Thanks.